Y'all hear the knocking? It's my knees. Is this all you got? It was the first day of school, and a little girl ran around this play yard before coming up to pre-kindergarten teacher Cindy Murphy, and with those 5 words, broke Cindy's heart. I couldn't tell her I'd been working every day for the last 2 years to bring a new playground to this school. How could I? All I had to show for my efforts was dirt and grass. So I looked her straight in the eye and said, "This is all we have, baby. This is all we have." Cindy was engaged in an active service with me and many others in her quest to bring a new playground to Wildwood Elementary School. If you ask people why they do service, their answers usually run along 2 major lines. The most common is because it feels good to give back. But service doesn't always feel good, not when your heart is broken in 5 words. The other common reason is a quote, I can't figure out who did the original. It's either Shirley Chisholm or Muhammad Ali or Marion Wright Edelman, but one of them, they all say it. Essentially, they say service is just the rent you pay for living on this earth. If you do long-term service like I have, you come to realize that living a life of service has almost nothing to do with giving back or feeling good or with duty. It's about something else entirely. The focus of this talk is about what it really means to serve. I work with LSU biological engineering students and our public schools to design and build playgrounds at the schools, with the kids at the center of the design process, because kids are the true experts at play. In the 16-year efforts, we have worked together to design almost 40 playgrounds, and we've built almost 30. Through this effort, I have moved and spread multiple truckloads of playground safety surfacing. That's 1 truckload. I have picked up and moved numerous 80-pound bags of concrete, something I can still do today, but it's a lot harder than it was in 1998. Yeah, age happens. I have failed many more times than I have succeeded. Even with all the proposals we've brought in to build playgrounds, I've written twice as many that haven't been funded. And right now I have 8 designs ready to go and no funding to build them yet. My philosophy of service has shifted and changed during this journey as I've peeled past the onion layers of service as duty and service as a feel-good and give-back activity. I'd like to share 3 things with you that I've learned about long-term service. The first is the ridiculousness of the myth of the service provider and the service recipient. This model makes the provider sound omniscient and the recipient sound helpless. In reality, we all give and teach, and we all receive and learn. We may bring different things to the table, but to serve in the community with the idea that you're the expert with the answers is a mistake. For example, I may be an expert in playground safety, but I can promise you that any child who's playing actively on a playground every day will design a better playground than I ever will. Teachers like Cindy Murphy know more about how groups of children play than I ever will. It's important to realize that every person is an expert with something to contribute. It might be the child who says, I don't want no little kids around, only big kids, because the little kids will get squished and might cry. Or the children who share their ideas for dream playgrounds. There's a lot of great things going on in this picture. My favorite is here on the right. I don't know if you can read it, but he's written here, anybody, 2 chairs. This is a mud pit. Given that 85% of Baton Rouge is on the floodplain, there's a mud pit in every playground we have, whether we want one or not. And there are wonderful notations to boys and girls throughout this play space, and the reason is that at this particular school, the girls and boys played separately, always, because every time they played together, the girls would beat up the boys. It's really true. I love this tall slide that goes into a swimming pool, but I like the swimming pool on top of the swings even better. Some students want accoutrements for their playgrounds, like a full-time juggling clown, a trapeze act, and an ice cream store. And this is from a collaboration that we're doing this semester with a group of kids that has no equipment to play on. And so they play games like Let's Dig Up George Washington and Imaginary Football. This group of students wants a disco treehouse. People who set out to do community service often walk into the community with the answers when they don't even know the questions. A life of service has taught me to seek these questions, and also that constructing the answers has to involve everyone as a respected partner. And I have found that if we proceed in this way, I often receive and learn far more than I give and teach. The second thing I've learned about living a life of service is the importance of listening not only with my ears, but also with my heart. Several years ago, I had the privilege of working with Twin Oaks Elementary on a new playground for their pre-kindergarten. All the playground had was a bucket ball, a small climber, and a small red gate that was positioned hundreds of feet away from all the other equipment, and was such an interesting artifact that my students and I began calling it the gate to nowhere, because that is what it was, literally. On a later trip to Twin Oaks, I asked Principal Krista Bordelon about the gate to nowhere, and she told us the story. And she said that the gate used to be the entryway to an old playground that was removed for safety reasons. But when the playground was removed, they didn't remove the gate at the same time. And she went on to tell us that it was the kids' favorite piece of equipment. After picking up my jaw from the floor, I asked why. And she told us that during recess, the teachers would bring the children out to this gate, line them up in front of it, and ask them, "Where do you want to go? Anywhere in the universe?" And when the first child in line had thought of a suitable location, she told that child to run through the portal, not through the gate, but through the portal, and for that child to yell where they were going as they ran through the portal. And this activity was the kids' favorite thing to do on the playground. So after listening to that story, I realized that what we had called a gate to nowhere was really a portal to anywhere. If I had listened only with my ears, I would have heard the story of why the gate was still there. If I had listened and thought about it, I would have realized that I made a terrible assumption. This was not a gate to nowhere, but a piece of equipment that was still being used and loved. I listened and I thought about it, but I also listened with my heart, which told me that Twin Oaks was a school that made something big out of something small and used the kids' imaginations to do it. In my heart, I realized that the portal to anywhere was reflective of the soul of the Twin Oaks community, whose teachers were determined to elevate the dreams and experiences and imaginations of their children despite a lack of resources. The school was sending a message to its students: you matter. You can go anywhere. You can do anything. Twin Oaks got a huge grant to redo their playground, and today the playground has lots of swings and slides and balancing stepping stones, among other things. We tore out the bucket ball and the climber to make room for this new equipment, but we kept the gate. The portal to anywhere is still a part of the Twin Oaks playground. Finally, living a life of service has taught me how to find the soul of the community, a process that can be difficult because you have to find your way within yourself as well as in the community. Finding my way within myself has meant getting past blame. Blame is an activity that most of us partake in to deal with the vast inequity and unfairness we see in front of us, and yet we tend to blame people rather than the systems that put people in tough situations in the first place. I've come to the conclusion that blame is a useless activity. Useless because while it might make us feel vindicated in the short run, in the long run we just go back to what we're doing. We just go back and don't focus our energy on really changing the situation at its core. You can see the soul of any community much more easily if you can look past blame. You can see your own soul more easily as well. Sometimes the soul of the community will jump out at you in an instant, like it did with the Twin Oaks playground. Other times it reveals itself more slowly. In the wisdom given by the ladies, matriarchal elders who have been associated with almost every playground build that we've done, the ladies are anchors of the community and will come and bring food and wisdom and encouragement, all in equal measure, to all of our playground builds. These cafeteria ladies at Bruley Elementary School cooked such wonderful food and had such wonderful things to say to volunteers that a group of Our Lady of the Lake College students who have worked with us side by side for 5 years on every playground build we've done told us that they were going on strike and that they were not going to volunteer again unless the Bruley ladies came and cooked and talked to them. In the 4-year struggle of Cindy Murphy, who was trying to bring that playground to Wildwood Elementary School, she wrote proposal after proposal, some of which were funded. Many were not, but the ones that were funded in the $1,000 to $4,000 range, nowhere near the $30,000 price tag. And so Cindy worked with what she had. a connection to a local Boy Scout troop leader named Brian Humes. 4 Eagle Scouts completed their projects as part of the Wildwood Playground, and so many storefront play areas like this one were built, as well as a stage under an oak tree. She then recruited parent Hillary Renshaw, who wrote 100 businesses, letters of appeal, raised several $1,000s in the process in the interest of the Boo Grigsby Foundation, who came to visit Cindy and Hillary and the playground, took a tour, told them to submit a proposal, a big one, which they then funded. The school system kicked in playground safety surfacing material, and after 4 years, Cindy had the design and the money in hand. And then in the manifestation of love on Build Day, when Cindy's husband, her 2 daughters, and an entourage of her friends collaborated side by side with Our Lady of the Lake College students, LSU students, other Wildwood employees, and the members of many churches and service clubs to construct the kids' dream playground. Cindy was the hardest working person out there in the sweltering August heat, and I swear to you that her feet never got within 6 inches of the ground. She was walking so tall. "No other child is ever going to ask me, 'Is this all you got?'" she said. This day remains the only one in which I have ever seen a reporter come to do a story, and after finishing his interviews, he put his notebook in his back pocket, picked up a shovel, and started spreading playground safety surfacing. He felt the love too. We all did. I live a life of service because of the profound moments that present themselves in the context of doing mundane work, but doing so together. I live a life of service because I refuse to live in a community in which children do not have access to safe, fun playgrounds, and by extension, safe, fun lives. I live a life of service because I believe that if we learn and teach together, and give and receive together, and stop blaming ourselves and each other, we will find creative ways to address the complex problems that face us: poverty, climate change, racism. These problems look like gates to nowhere. When faced with what looks like a gate to nowhere, I try to remember the Twin Oaks teachers who, with a little love and ingenuity, turned a gate to nowhere into a portal to anywhere. We can too. If you endeavor to serve, remember to learn and teach. Ask the difficult questions and construct the answers together. Listen with your ears and your heart, and find the soul of your community. Thank you.